Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to Practicing Wellness with Danielle Fanfare from the Heinz Center. That's me. I'm the executive director of the Heinz Center. And don't worry if you don't know anything about the Heinz Center. You can go to www.heinzcenter.org. And I just want to let you guys know that the Heinz Center for Spirituality is a center in downtown Houston that really seeks to serve not just the city of Houston, but the entire world. I mean, we have this dream of being able to facilitate a community where folks can feel safe and comfortable asking life's big questions, questions around things like purpose and joy, questions around things like the meaning of life, experience wellness practices, and go on journeys that include meditation, mindfulness, and contemplation, as well as yoga, Tai Chi, moving the body meditatively through the art of dance, as well as attending workshops and retreats and finding space in our center to really create the life that you want to live. That's what I did as a member in 2017. I was experiencing a great crisis of faith and identity. I did not know who really I was when I wasn't over identified by a religion and a role. And the Heinz Center was this very safe, calm place for me to really get in touch with my deepest longings, my deepest desires, and really the true source of wisdom, protection, provision, and love that I was seeking. And so we seek to be that for you. Every Tuesday at 2:00, I'm gonna grab my tea. Every Tuesday at 2:00, I pop online to teach a live wellness practice. And then every week I actually teach an actual course called Wellness E-Course. And the Wellness E-Course is simply a space to dig into and expand this knowledge that spirituality and wellness are inextricably linked. And we have the time right now, many of us, to explore concepts, thoughts, desires, and questions that our usual hustle and bustle just did not allow for. And so my goal is to create more and more spaces for us to do that. Shout out to Jinka for giving me this awesome cup. I've been drinking Jinka every day. And if you don't know what Jinka is, it's a turmeric paste that we use in the Heinz Center that uses ancient ingredients like turmeric, ginger, nutmeg, black pepper, a variety of things to reduce inflammation and boost immunity in the body. And boy, do we need it. And so when we open up again, I look forward to you guys coming by and trying some Jinka. Wow, how things can change, right? How many of you guys were able to catch and understand Governor Abbott's order to open the state of Texas effective at the end of this week? You know, May 1st is an interesting day because for many of us, things won't be too different, but for a lot of us, things will be. He has issued an order that allows for the beginning of a gradual reopening of our state. And, you know, I really took some time this morning to process my personal feelings about it. I looked over the 62-page document that details his order. I looked over the necessary safety precautions of any business that's interested in reopening. And, you know, I read between the lines of the decision for reopening, which is for the city of Houston, the major cities of Texas, as well as the counties in Texas and the state on the whole to get back to a place of economically thriving. And so that is interesting because today I was going to teach about thriving anyway. It's a part of our Heinz Center wellness curriculum to really examine and explore what thriving looks like and what specifically we need to thrive. And in a very interesting time in our history, it's going to be so important for us to define that for ourselves right now so that we can create the circumstances for our thriving as well as the boundaries necessary for us to thrive. I have seen on so many different occasions through the past couple of weeks that no matter how we try, social distancing and being human is really hard. Seeing people who are hurting, seeing people that you love, seeing people that are in need, and restricting yourself from talking to them, embracing them, moving closely to them, touching them is extremely hard. And so, knowing that that is the only thing that keeps us safe, it's important for us to create different standards for ourselves so that we can maintain our safety, right? We've had to think about that. We've had to say, okay, even though so and so is having an Easter gathering, or even though so and so is gathering on the patio of this restaurant, or even though people have asked me to come over and sit 6 feet from them in their yard, I know for me, I'm going to break those rules and I'm going to run over to you and hug you up when I see you. And so for me, I've had to communicate my love. It must be felt from a distance during this time, right? So now that we have governmental clearance to move about the city, even though it's not fully restored, we still need to think about what we need in order to thrive. Not what the government says, not what the media is telling us, not even what our own peers and friends and communities and organizations and businesses are telling us. It's important for us to get in touch with what we believe is necessary and what we believe is essential for our own sense of thriving and well-being. And so you guys know I'm a nerd, so I like a definition. I love a good definition. And Merriam-Webster defines thriving as to grow or develop well or vigorously, to prosper or to flourish. The word thrive, the very definition means to grow or develop well or vigorously, to prosper and to flourish. Can I ask you to think about, what do you need to grow or develop well or vigorously? What do you need to prosper or to flourish? Can you think of a time in your life where you grew well, where you grew vigorously, you prospered and you flourished? I can think of a time in my life where I read hundreds of books, maybe even thousands. And my vocabulary and my ability to communicate, my ability to comprehend and understand the things that I read in those books still stay with me. And I always remember the conditions of my reading. I went to Walden Books with my godmother every single Friday. Every Friday after school, we went to Greenspoint Mall. Greenspoint was I'm from that parent. Greenspoint was a different community in the early 90s. Let me just give you all that caveat. Okay. My godmother would pick me up from school from Colonial Hills Elementary, and we would go to Greenspoint Mall, and we would stop by Dillard's to get her some stockings for the next week. She wore pantyhose to work, so we would stop by and get her some stockings, what we call it in Texas. And then we would walk down to Walden Books, and she would let me pick at least 2 or 3 books for me to read, and I would be done with those books by the end of the weekend. Now, the conditions for me to be done with those books were my home was quiet. The conditions were there was always enough food for me to slip out of my world, my literary world, and into the kitchen and grab my food and come back. The conditions were that there were really very little disturbances. I mean, my godparents were very, very, easygoing, predictable, stable people. They were educators. And so their Saturdays and Sundays were very, very slow and easy. The most we were going to do was go to the beauty shop, the post office, the grocery store, and come on home. Maybe to grandma's house and then come on home. And I could read at all those places. Okay. And so the other conditions is that my home was really clean and beautiful. And so I was always surrounded by images that were beautiful art, pieces of art hanging on the wall. I was always surrounded by gorgeous furniture. My mother-in-law my godmother has great taste. And so lounging on furniture, being upside down on these beautiful couches while I read. We lived on a large plot of land. I was raised on 2.5 acres of land in Greens Point. And so I would go outside and lay on a blanket in the backyard and read. And every now and then look up to, hear a horse neighing or to listen to the chickens clucking and go back to my book. I know that sounds so weird, right? Being from Houston and like laying next to chickens and reading, but that's how it was. And so from that time, I developed this extremely extensive vocabulary, this love of reading, this love of writing, eventually this love of teaching. And some of the details from some of those books that I read in my preteen years still drift back to me at the time that I need it. So I always remember those conditions because that was a moment where I grew well, vigorously. I developed. That's the moment where I flourished. My little brain was like a garden and flowers were just blooming. So I want to ask you to think about a time, maybe not exactly like that, because that is kind of unique, but think about a time in your life where you were thriving. Think about a time in your life, either as a young person or as a teenager or as a moment in a different part of your education and development where you were able to thrive. And it's important to do that because it's important for us to go back to the conditions of our thriving so that we can begin to consciously recreate those conditions now. I think that it's important for us to remember these conditions because if we don't remember what it looks like for us to thrive, we will become the players, we will become the agents, we will become the actors in someone else's stage play for their own thriving. Right? And so we don't know what it takes for us to thrive. Then when we receive requests and directives from other people, we will become instruments of their thriving, but at the cost of our own. And I believe there's a way for us to harmoniously thrive together, especially when we know the conditions for our thriving and we're able to communicate them well. And we're able to say, hey, this is what I need to thrive. And we're also able to say, and that will not work for me. With courtesy, with kindness, but with a resolute and absolute knowing that this is what I know I need in order to do what? Grow or develop well or vigorously to prosper and to flourish, which is the innate craving of all human beings. All of us want to grow. It is our nature to expand. It is our instinct to flourish. And when we honor that, when we know that, and we create the conditions for that, then we begin to enjoy the fruits of our thriving. Okay? So let's try a little practice. Come to a comfortable seat. You guys know we're going to always do a practice. Come to a comfortable seat. Start breathing in through the nose, out through the nose, in through the nose, out through the nose. And if you notice me looking back and forth, it's because I'm looking at both Facebook Live and Instagram Live. I see you guys on both. Thank you for joining me. Breathe. Breathing tells our brains and our bodies that we're okay. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. Now breathe out through the nose. Now close your eyes and go into your mind's eye. Imagine yourself thriving. And just play here. There's no wrong or right way to do this. There's no absolute answer. Just play. What does it look like for you to thrive? What are the conditions of your thriving? What does your face look like when you're thriving? What are you wearing? What does your body look like when you're thriving? What is the environment that is conducive, even the temperature when you're thriving? Who's with you when you're thriving? What are you doing? Like an Olympic athlete, I want you to visualize every step of the actions that you take when you are thriving. Just Go there in your mind. Who's with you? Who is cheering you on? Who's helping you? What are you doing? What are you wearing? How are you standing? Where are you? What city? What room? Just go through all the details you possibly can of what it looks like for you to thrive. Continue to breathe. Taking fuller and deeper breaths every time you do. Going through all the motions of what it looks like for you to thrive. Even if you want to just take a snapshot in your mind. Allow yourself a panoramic view of the circumstances and the environment in which you thrive. Continuing to breathe. Now I want you to say out loud, at the risk of disturbing those that you're quarantining with, and if you can't say it out loud, say it inwardly, but make sure you consciously say it. I deserve to thrive. It is uniquely human to thrive. And I deeply love and respect myself enough to thrive. Let's try that again. Breathe in. I deserve to thrive. It is uniquely human. And it is a human instinct to thrive. And I deeply love and respect myself enough to thrive. A few more rounds of that deep, deep breath. And if you have a pen and a pencil ready, or even if you don't, this will be available for you to come back to and watch or listen to again. I want you to contemplate the following questions. What did I see in my vision of myself thriving? What did I see? I saw myself teaching. I have really constant allergies, and anytime I'm teaching, my allergies are just suspended. I rarely sneeze or have any kind of drainage issues while I'm teaching, because it makes me so happy to teach that somehow my allergies just know to respect my time, and they pause, right? So what did you notice? What does it look like? What did you see in your vision of thriving? I saw myself teaching large amounts of people. The second question I have for you is, what are the conditions of the past moments where I know I have thrived? I walked you through the scene in which I used to voraciously read and therefore grow my intelligence exponentially. And I walked you through the environment. What environmental conditions, what elements are necessary that you remember from a time of past thriving? And then what do I need now to thrive? What do you need right now to thrive? It's important for us to understand that even if our current state, our current situation, our current environment is not perfect, even if it's an environment that we actually are not exactly in love with, and if it's an environment that we want to change and immediately transition from, it's important for us to understand why, because there's so much information, even in our own discomfort, right? So, how does your present situation contribute to your thriving? And if it doesn't, how does your current state reveal what you need to thrive? I learned after a stint with a nonprofit organization that I need my own space to work that does not change to thrive. I need my own space to work that does not change. And if I want to go to a different space, that's different than me coming to a space that I thought was allocated for me and finding that it's been manipulated without my knowing. And so I learned that through some strange territorial engagements, but I learned that I need my own little space to thrive. And so what does your current situation reveal what you need? How does your current environment illuminate what you need to thrive? Right? Outside of needing a full hair and makeup team, because, you know, we would all love to thrive and have exactly what we needed to look perfect every day, right? And then the last question I have for you is, what change can I make today that reflects how I deeply love and respect myself? What change can I make today that reflects how much I deeply love and respect myself? And that's a concept that may be new for some of us. I heard that phrase in a meditation that I was experiencing, and I came out of the meditation, I was like, I don't think I've ever chosen to create an environment that specifically respects myself, right? I already know about self-love. I already know about self-care, but that self-respect piece is not something that I was nurtured and raised to specifically make changes in my environment to reflect. And so now the changes that I make in my environment reflect how I would deeply love and respect myself, right? And so I am now into making up my bed and cleaning up my little work area every day, because if a person that I love that was coming in from out of town was coming to stay with me, I would go above and beyond to make this space neat and tidy for him or her. So how can I then lavish that same love and respect on myself? That is the first step towards thriving. What changes can I make that reflect how I deeply love and respect myself? And if you've never thought about that before, I encourage you and invite you to take one step to deeply love and respect yourself today. If that step is saying no, if that step is saying yes, if that step is taking some time to yourself, if that step is logging off of a device and looking out the window, whatever that step is, if that step is going and eating the last of whatever it is you've been looking at in the refrigerator and you've been waiting on somebody else to see if they're going to eat it, go ahead and eat it. Tell them I sent you. When they complain about it being gone, say Danielle from the High Center on Facebook or Instagram Live told me to deeply love and respect myself and take a bite. And of course, you guys know I'm always going to bring gratitude into our daily awareness, because gratitude is an immunity booster. It is a mood lifter. Gratitude decreases things like anxiety and depression, and it increases our joyful awareness of what we have. And then it creates in us the ability to attract and invite more. So, what are 10 reasons why you're grateful for a time in your life where you know you were thriving? Some of us have to go farther back than others, and some of us can talk about present moments of thriving. But write 10 reasons why you're grateful. It's really great to be able to see documentaries like the one that's out right now about Michael Jordan, because I love to look at the systems that are around people who are very successful. I love to look at the conditions, right? For even people like Michael Jordan, who we all agree is one of the greatest to ever play basketball. But what were the conditions of his thriving? What were some of the people's attitudes, and what were their skills and knowledge like that were supporting and were working alongside of him for all the success that the Chicago Bulls experienced? What were the conditions for his own physical fitness and mental faculties, right? How can we all go and be the little MJs wherever we are because we decided to deeply love and respect ourselves and create the conditions to thrive? And remember that your conditions to thrive may not always reflect everybody else's. They may not always reflect the status quo, what normal people are doing, or even what local, state, and national authorities are saying. However, if you trust yourself, you will thrive. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I welcome it and just invite you guys to go to thehindcenter.org, check out some of our upcoming events. Every day we got something going on that will bring you some peace of mind, that will bring you some emotional balance and some joy, and that will bring about physical wellness and you just feeling better in your body. And that will be a journey that we're all on together, asking these big life questions like, what does this all mean? What does this mean for me? And really, how can I thrive? So thank you guys. Thank you so much. I am looking forward to learning with you. I'm teaching a class this Thursday about what it means to create, and it's not an art class. It's a class for us to really create where we are via the Heinz Center. And if you can't catch the live, you can always catch the replay. And I'll be teaching expanded versions of what I teach on these live classes, these live little wellness practices. I teach expanded versions of this every Thursday. So log on to thehindcenter.org and join me again as we dig into more of what it looks like for us to increase and expand and really thrive, which is our natural state. You guys have a great day and enjoy the thunder clouds and the raindrops that I see are coming in. Enjoy this downtime. Enjoy this journey of understanding and knowing more about what it means for us to truly thrive. Bye.